The first 7 tools on the GIMP's toolbox are the selection tools. By double-clicking on a tool, you select its options on the relative dialog. At first, on the top of the dialog, you can select the mode for the tool. If you park your pointer over the 4 icons, you can see the tooltips. The first tooltip says replace the current selection. The second is add to the current selection. The third is subtract from the current selection, and the fourth is intersect with the current selection. So, the first of these 4 commands replaces the current selection. Let me take, for example, the rectangle select tool and make a selection. With this mode, when I drag to make another selection, the new one completely replaces the old one. The second mode is add to the current selection. So when I have a selection and drag now another selection, I'm just adding to the selection. Now my selection is this. Now I mouse over and I see that there is the shortcut Shift on the keyboard to work this way. This means that when I am not in this mode, for example here, when there is of course no shortcut and I have a selection, if I press Shift on the keyboard, a little plus sign is added on my pointer. So now with the Shift key down, I drag and I add to the current selection. In the same mode, when we move to the third mode, the subtract, now here the shortcut is the control. Let me choose another tool, the ellipse select tool, and with my control down or with this mode on the ellipse select tool, I drag an ellipse. Now I have subtracted from the selection. And lastly, the fourth mode is the intersect mode. I select the free select tool, check the last mode, and I create an intersect of the existing selection and the new one. The shortcut for this mode is Shift plus Control, that is to say the 2 buttons pressed down at the same time. So, to sum up, with these 4 options here, the 4 modes, I can conveniently execute all possible logical actions with selections. A second option of the selection tools is the anti-aliasing. Typically, you will have it always checked in order to smooth edges of the selections. This is inactive only in one tool, the rectangle tool, because it has no meaning. For the explanation, please refer to the theory. A third common option for the selection tools is this one, feather edges. With this option, you can define that when selecting, there will be automatically some feathering on the border of the selection. And with this slider, you can define the amount of this feathering. You might wonder why this can be helpful. Let me show an example of this. I will select something with the free select tool and with this option not checked. Let me say that I want to duplicate an item, copy, paste as a new layer, And if I zoom in, I see that there is some pixelation on the border. I undo, and now I check the further edges. With a few pixels, just 5 pixels, I copy, paste as a new layer, zoom in. The border is softer, so I can incorporate the data in a much easier way that looks more natural, which is important in photography to a certain degree.